What you just witnessed is probably the most toxic card I've ever had the privilege of playing. It's one of those cards that, from a design standpoint, you've got to wonder, Konami, what the actual fuck? The star of the show is of course Arcana Force 21 The World, and this card has a relatively simple effect. Simply, you get to flip a coin. If it lands on heads, you get the opportunity to just infinitely skip your opponent's turn. If it lands on tails, well...
Mission failed! We'll get them next time.
This card has a very unique level of toxicity, because when someone says, I don't get to play the game, normally they're referring to things like floodgates or a control deck, just sort of locking them down and stopping them activating card effects. But in this case, this doesn't just figuratively stop them playing, it literally stops them playing. So much so, they don't even get a draw phase. They don't get to draw any cards. This basically means if their opening hand doesn't have some sort of out or some sort of negate that stops you pulling off your combo, they don't get to play. It turns the two-way duel into a spectator mode. Now before you all get up in arms at Konami for how broken and bonkers this card is, it's actually not that bonkers. Unfortunately, it is a coin toss. If you fail the coin toss, you're probably screwed. There are ways to make the coin toss basically guaranteed, but at the cost of that, if your opponent has like 1 or 2 hand traps, you just lose the game instantly. And also, because you're teching so hard on just trying to get this combo off going first, going second, you've got no hand traps. There's literally, I'm running none, because you're just too bricky otherwise. So this deck is 100% just a meme deck. You need to win a coin toss to go first, you need to win a coin toss to get the card effect off, but when you do, my god is it toxic. Now just before we get into some replays, just a reminder, if you're enjoying today's video and want to see more content just like this, especially meme deck type stuff, as I don't really do this all that often at the moment, so if you do really enjoy this kind of stuff, let me know in the comments down below, and also consider leaving a like on this video and consider subscribing to the channel down below, especially if you're a returning viewer, as apparently about 50% of people watching this or even subscribe to the channel, nearly all of you are returning viewers who have seen my content before, so if you find yourself keep coming back to the channel and seeing more content just like this in the future, remember to subscribe. Alright, let's get into some replays. Alright, let's get into some replays. So today I have 4 replays to show you, unfortunately all of which are going to look fairly similar. It's just the nature of this deck list. I'm just going to be trying to just skip my opponent's turn. But this first replay is actually going to be a rare occurrence of actually winning with this deck list going second, which it just should never happen, so either way. Alright. Okay, so you'll notice we're playing Drytron. I found that Drytron is just the easiest way to get this combo off, simply because it can flood the board without a normal summon, and it can search for the boss monster actively. Alright, I'm going to be using my Extra Foolish Burial. This is a fantastic card, by the way, as it allows me to send an extra monster straight to the graveyard, which is amazing because we can do 2 things. We can either use it for a search by sending our copy of... where is it? A copy of Herald, which is your search for a ritual monster, or it can just flat out send an Elder Entity, which will then pop a card on the field, which will obviously be his annoying back row, so I can actually play the game. Elder Entity gets to pop a card on the field, getting rid of his nice Omni Negate there, which could have been a bit annoying. Alright, fast forward a bit here. Now, this guy actually has now got a activate his Banshee to get a copy of Zombie World on the field, which is the weirdest counter. I've actually never like experienced this as a counter to this specific, like a specific deck like this before, simply because normally you don't lose to the fact this thing just locks players out of tribute summoning. It's just like nobody notices. They only notice the fact that it turns everything into a zombie. This thing stops you from tribute summoning, and this deck needs to do a tribute summon, so Bit of a weird counter, but thankfully we can play through it. Alright, summon my Drytron, make a Link Kuriboh. Now I can bring this dude back by discarding a Drytron in hand. Getting a search for my Searcher. Gamma popping the dude on the field, summoning himself to the field. This brings back another Drytron from grave. So I have 2 cards on the field. Xyz summon. Go into my Drytron dude, you can send a Drytron to the graveyard. This now pop my other dude in hand, summon himself to the field. Pop my Ritual Monster in hand, summon him to the field, giving me a card draw, revealing the spell in hand. Thankfully, we actually managed to use I'll pronounce this card. This card's effect to just hard draw into this. Normally, you'd use your Benten to search for it, so in this case, I just got an extra search for an Idaten. Alright, use 1,000, using 1 material off the bottom of my Drytron dude to Ritual Summon using the card in graveyard. Summon out the Benten. Link Summon into a Phoenix to get rid of this annoying card blocking my Tribute Summon. Now I can flat out just Tribute Summon out my Arcana Force. Now I just realized I haven't actually explained how this card's coin toss works. So this card, once per turn, once it's done its coin toss, during the end phase you have to send 2 monsters you control to the graveyard to skip your opponent's next turn. And this has to be done every single turn, so you have to have as much material on field as possible and as much recursion on field as possible that you can actually get. Which is another reason why Drytron is so good for it. Also keep in mind, you only have to win the coin toss once, then you can just keep using this effect infinitely, as you'll see. Alright, Tribute summoned over my Benten to get a search, adding another Ritual Monster to hand. Hitting heads. Sending back my dude to the field, because I plan to send this card to the graveyard anyway. And having a Ritual Monster on the field is fantastic, because it's already set up for my next turn, where I'll just summon back my Drytron Gamma, tributing whichever Ritual Monster I like, and putting enough materials on the field to use this card's effect again. Yeah, this game's very, very over. You see, he didn't even draw a card. Literally didn't draw a card. Gamma tributing to summon itself back to the field. Unfortunately, he is a deck list that is has some stuff in the graveyard, so he can do some sort of play. Doesn't matter too much though, he's got no life points, and we can summon a billion cards here, as you'll notice. He'll fast forward a little bit. Tribute, summon back, get a draw. This game is so over. If you're running just whatever Link Fours you like, you can just easily... If I wanted to, I could just Accesscode Talker him. There's so many things you can just do here. I don't think I bothered though, I think I just sort of just swung in. I think I got bored of summoning at some point. You can also just keep tributing this thing on repeat to give this thing just a trillion attack. As you tribute it, gives this thing more attack. Summon Natasha back to the field, which is a really good card at going, that can help going second, although, like I said earlier, this deck list just, it won't win going second, don't have faith in that. And he's gone. Alright, so that's probably the most exciting of the replays, I'm gonna be honest, because the other ones, they're alright, but they won't be showing you going second, so generally it's just gonna be a case of, how am I gonna skip my opponent's turn this time? Alright. And you also notice that in all the replays but one, I have to get the coin toss manually. I don't hard draw into my anti-coin toss cards, which there are 6 in the deck by the way. I have 2 cards that will make the coin toss basically guaranteed, which is pretty good because then you also have Terraforming, which searches for one of them. You'll see when I cover the deck list later, but there's basically 7 different cards in this deck list and a Pot of Prosperity that can get you access to a card that makes the coin toss basically guaranteed. So this combo is fairly consistent. Alright. Summon a dude to the field, summon another guy, giving me a search, or sorry, an XC summon. Now I get the search by sending to the graveyard. Tribute, summon himself to the field, this gives me a search for a ritual spell. Now I get a search off my Benten for our boss monster. This time using it as a search by sending Herald instead of using it as a pop. And our ritual monster. Tribute, summon back, get a draw. Yeah, this card is... Drytron is so good for this. Like, this card in itself just allows you to just do a billion summons. So it just means that we get to send cards to the graveyard and do 2 ritual summons with it. Easiest way to fill up the board. Alright, summon back my dude. Add back my ritual spell so I don't need to use its effect. And there we go, landing on heads. I should probably show the coin toss animation. Alright. Once again, adding it back, because these cards, for some reason, both are not once per turn effects. Tribute 2. And my opponent is, busy crying. And there's one of them, by the way, the light barrier. So once per turn during your standby phase, toss a coin, if it fails, like, ignore that. When you summon an Arcana Force monster, choose which effect to apply. Basically, yeah, if you draw this card, your coin toss becomes guaranteed. Doesn't matter now, because like I also mentioned earlier, this card, once you've already won the coin toss, you don't have to do it again. It's permanent. Yep, skip my opponent's turn again. I can do this as much as I like. I can just keep ritual summoning things back with my thingo. I have another ritual monster in hand. I have a billion Drytrons that can keep searching and special summoning and looping. But we'll just end him here. Yeah, once you've got the actual combo off, the game is just hard over. Alright, next replay. Alright. New starting hand this time. Another bonus of running Terraforming the Decklist, not just to search for the Arcana Force spell, but you can also search for the Drytron field spell as well. Which normally you don't run in Drytron for some reason, but yeah. In this deck list, just because you're already running a field spell, you might as well run the other field spell as well. Just because it's a searcher. This card is absolutely just the maker of this deck list. Being able to summon back 2 monsters makes it so goddamn easy to get material on field. Fast forward this one a little bit. Alright, so I'm back, searching for my how do you even say this? Meteonis? Ritual summon using detaching as material, summon back. Can add back the ritual spell by lowering the attack, then ritual summon again. I guess we kind of want a ritual monster in the graveyard first. There we go. Now we can do it if you like. It's like has so many searches too. Jack in the hand, another just random ass searcher that exists in this game. Gives your opponent one of you just look at 3 cards, give your opponent or opponent chooses one of them, then you get to choose from the other 2, one to add to hand. Sending 2, opponent's turn skipped. I'm surprised most people don't concede after this. It's like they don't realize that this card's infinite. Alright, this guy did actually. Yeah, of course, eating my words there. Alright, final replay. This is the one that I actually got to show off the fact this deck does have 7 different ways to counter the fact it's a coin toss and make it basically guaranteed. Alright. Which, by the way, you're meant to have like a... Despite what the replays may show, where I only opened it one of the four replays, you're meant to open one of these like anti-coin toss cards at least, I think it's 70% of the time when you have Pot of Prosperity, you have the Terraforming, and then you have the 6 copies. So I should be opening it most games. In this case, I opened 3 of them, so... Yeah, not sure about that one. Alright. Drytron. This is actually, despite how bricky this hand is, basically if you get a copy of your Gamma and a copy of your Alpha, a lot of the time you can just sort of make the hand work. Because those 2 are the most important. Alright, Link summon out a Link Kuriboh. Now I can use my dude in grave, tribute my dude, summon into the field. Searching for my Benten. Tribute the dude on field, so now I can bring the 2 on field. XC summon. This is giving me my mill. Sending my ritual spell searcher, popping the Benten. Summon back, search for the ritual spell. Benten searcher boss monster. Ritual summon. This is a bit of a sketchy duel though, this one, because I'm pretty sure I ended with no Drytron or Ritual Monster in hand, if I remember correctly. Which is very sketch, because it means on following turns, you have to rely on one top deck. Because you do need an actual Drytron or a Ritual Monster in hand to use your Gamma. Actually, I just lied to you, never mind. I forgot I could just tribute summon over the Benten, which also counts as tributing, so I gotta search for a Ritual Monster off that, so. Yeah, so all this was literally just from one copy of Drytron Nova and your Gamma in hand. Pretty crazy. So, you know, coin toss happened because Field Spell didn't allow me to just choose heads instead. Alright, end phase, send to the grave. And we're already set up for next turn. We just tribute this whenever we like. You can ignore that, by the way. The rest of this card's effect doesn't matter. You only need its first effect to make it so this card's guaranteed. Then you don't need any more coin tosses anyway. And my opponent concedes. Alright. So let's get into the deck list portion. So here's the deck list. Now, as per usual, every single card in this deck list will be typed out in the description down below for anyone that's interested in playing this sort of wacky combo deck. Do keep in mind, like I mentioned though, it is a meme deck, so don't take this on ladder expecting you to just storm your way all the way to Diamond 1 with it, because it just will not happen. But it's a very, very fun deck for those who just want to mess around, just be toxic for a little while, so, and experience a card that you've probably not really seen before. I doubt you've ever encountered someone playing this on ladder unless you're a meme yourself and are playing it yourself, so it's a cool little combo deck that has some cool little stuff. Basically, it's just a sort of standard Drytron deck, but we've removed the Drytron boss monster, we've removed the Diviner, since it will take up your normal summon, which you now need to tribute summon this dude, and we've just added a billion different searches. You also notice I'm running no hand traps, because, like I mentioned before, this deck list, it's fairly bricky if you're running it with just a billion hand traps in here. Also, you'll lose to things like Ash Blossom and Effect Veilers and all this other stuff really easily if you don't have sort of other extenders or ways to play through it. So I just thought, I'm not going to win many games anyway, I'm just going to meme. I'm going to play this with as much consistency as possible. I'm not going to care if I roll the coin toss wrong. I'm just going to play it purely for fun. That's what it's a for fun deck list. So this deck list basically consists of your standard Drytron monsters, which I'm running basically as many as possible of all the good ones, and 2 copies of the one that just lets you draw 1 card. This is the Ritual Monster Searcher, this is the one that allows you to summon an extra from the graveyard, and this one is the Ritual Spell Searcher. Then we have your 3 Ritual Monsters. The reason I'm running 3 of them is you'll notice when playing this deck list, you'll get a lot of searches of your things like your Benten and your Alpha, so it just means you need to have extra copies of Ritual Monsters because you'll be able to search them fairly often, and the more you have in hand as material, the more often you can use things like your Drytron Gamma to keep your Arcana Forces effect running permanently, since this card can just summon itself back from the graveyard, giving you 2 monsters by tributing any of your Ritual Monsters. The rest of the deck list is all basically just searches. We have Foolish Burial, you all know that does. Terraforming, you all know that does. Your Cyber Emergency, which can search for any of your Drytrons. Your Extra Foolish Burial, which can send your Herald to the graveyard to search for a Ritual Monster, or it can send your Elder to the graveyard to pop a card on the field. We have your Jack in the Hand, which is a really cool search spell. Reveals 3 level 1s, your opponent chooses 1, you get to choose from the final 2 one to add to hand, which doesn't really matter because, yeah, you could just add any of the Drytrons in hand is good anyway. We have your Drytron Nova, summons a Drytron to field, your Pot of Prosperity, we have your field spell, Drytron Fafnir, blah blah, this just searches for a Drytron. And then we have the anti sort of coin toss cards. The coin toss cards that make it so that your coin tosses are basically guaranteed. This one is the best one as it makes it so your coin toss is actually guaranteed. And then we have your second coin toss, which just lets you do an extra coin toss if you fail the first one. Still not guaranteed, but better than nothing. There's not much else in the game to sort of fix this, so this is the best we got. In regards to your extra deck, everything doesn't really matter outside of these 3 and your Drytron here. It's nice to run Link Kuribohs as well because it makes it so that, as you'll see, at least you probably saw in one of the replays, I had to use it to put one of these in the graveyard at one point, but the rest of the cards are all just sort of whatever you feel like playing. You don't have to play to these ultra rares I'm running, I'm just running them because they're cards that I can run. You probably should run some Link monsters of some sort just so you can sort of easily OTK your opponent without having to rely on 16 activations of your dude, although you can if you like. But yeah, that's basically today's deck list, so hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope to see you guys in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.